Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Faith, and today guys I'll be checking out Ben Shapiro as he speaks on celebrities speak on Israel. And you guys, I'm super excited for this, and without much ado, let's see what this video is all about.
Well, folks, if there's one group of people you should learn to look out for when it comes to morality, people you should respect, it is, of course, Hollywood celebrities. So morons in Hollywood. You know, all the best people, all of them, all of your moral exemplars, everybody from Melissa Milano, who took a break from standing for abortion to stand with terrorists. Apparently she likes dead babies across the board. So you got Alyssa Milano. You have David Cross. You have people like Hassan Minhaj, recently spotted falsifying many of his personal stories about American anti-Arab sentiment. Jeremy Strong, who is so far up his own rear that he has become totally familiar with his own colon. Kristen Stewart McLemore, Mark Ruffalo, who, and by the way, I would trade any of these people for any of the hostages in Gaza right now. And we'll see how they enjoy it over there. Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther. Susan Sarandon, no shock there. Rooney Mara, Jon Stewart, who's just a despicable human being. Wanda Sykes, Rosario Dawson, Kate Blanchett, Andrew Garfield, Mahershala Ali, America Ferrera, recently the star of Barbie. Joaquin Phoenix, all these people signed a letter. And what does the letter say? The letter says that Israel must stop. It must stop. You must leave the terrorists in place. They wrote a letter to the president. Quote, "Dear President, we come together as artists and advocates, but most importantly as human beings, witnessing the devastating loss of lives and unfolding horrors in Israel and Palestine. We ask that as President of the United States, you call for an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Gaza and Israel before another life is lost." There is zero mention in this entire letter of Hamas. There is zero mention of what led off this conflict. This is the way, by the way, that moral morons do what they do. What they do is they just ignore the beginning of every war. It's really, it's a fun way to, again, escape moral culpability and the fact that you, in fact, are a fellow traveler with Hamas to do all of this stuff. It makes it really easy. You just ignore what started the whole thing. They've been doing this for 20 years. Hamas fires a bunch of rockets at Israeli civilian centers. Israel retaliates. They go, the violence must stop. It's like, well, what led to the violence? If you can ignore it, then you can just move right back into that warm bath of moral equivalence. But here's the reality. The moral equivalence doesn't exist. And guess what? Reality is going to hit you directly in the face if you continue with this nonsense. So the West has a choice. They can either wake up or they can continue to facilitate moral idiocy in the name of tolerance. It's not just going to be Jews who pay the price for that one, by the way. The United States is sort of sending a little bit of mixed signals. So Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, he said, we're concerned at the possibility that Iranian proxies are going to escalate the war against the United States. Well, here's the reality. They should be a lot more worried about escalating the war against the United States than we should be worried about them escalating the war against us. And just to be perfectly frank about this, if they fire on American warships, everyone in Hezbollah will be dead. You know, the United States is not a power to be trifled with. And the fact that we are constantly kind of pussyfooting around this, like, oh, well, you know, we're worried about Iranian proxies escalating against us. They should be a lot more worried about us escalating against them, considering the United States military is the most powerful fighting force in the history of the world, bar none. We have a military budget that is the rest of the world's combined times two. So they, like, if Hezbollah decides that they want to get it on, by the way, this is the message we should be conveying to them. It's like, you want to do this? Do you really want to cross that line? Do you really want to do that? Because it will be a giant's foot against a mosquito, man. Here's Tony Blinken, though. Again, the mixed signals here are pretty remarkable.
Tension is very high in the region. Are you changing your security posture? Are you pulling any U.S. personnel out of the area?
Margaret, we are concerned at the possibility of Iranian proxies escalating their attacks against our own personnel, our own people. We're taking every measure to make sure that we can defend them and, if necessary, respond decisively.
So, I mean, I'm glad if necessary response. Well, again, this is very easy. The President of the United States, in his last speech, he should have said, we don't want you to escalate. You should not want you to escalate, because if you escalate, you will be dead. I mean, that is how it works in the Middle East. And pretending otherwise is really, really, really done. By the way, Israel is saying some of that sort of stuff. So Nir Barkat, who is a member of the government right now, he's Israel's Minister of the Economy. He warned Iran that if they get directly involved, Israel will, quote, cut the head of the snake off, which is what Israel has to convey. If they don't convey that, then Iran will, in fact, get in. And it is worthwhile noting here that there is, in fact, a common interest, not necessarily among Iran, but even among Iran, in not escalating this thing. Right now, the math is this. Iran has a bunch of proxies. Those proxies include the Houthis in Yemen. They include Hezbollah in the north of Israel. They include the Syrian government. They include the Lebanese regime, which is Hezbollah. And they include Hamas. Hamas was not supposed to succeed this way. The entire goal of this terrorist attack was probably to kill 50 Jews and kidnap 5. And instead it killed 1,500 Jews and kidnapped 200. And because of that, Hamas is now in existential danger. And so Iran would prefer not to have the knight on its chessboard knocked off the chessboard, but that is what's going to happen. And so Iran now has to consider whether it prefers to lose its knight in the Gaza Strip plus another knight in northern Israel / southern Lebanon in Hezbollah, because if it escalates, that's where this is going, or whether it just concedes the loss. So they're desperately trying to spin their way out of Hamas losing control of the Gaza Strip, and the only question is whether the West is going to prevent Israel from doing what it needs to do in the Gaza Strip. I have faith that the United States is not going to do that, because again, I think everybody has an interest in seeing Hamas fall, including, by the way, Egypt. How do you know this? Because actually, over the weekend, the IDF accidentally hit an Egyptian outpost, and Egypt immediately said, we get it, it happens, fog of war. So for all the talk about how the entire Arab world is united against Israel, that's not really true. Basically, you have the Iranian proxies who are united against Israel and the Sunnis who are like, if Hamas gets taken out, we can't say that we're happy about it, but we're pretty happy about it. We're pretty much okay with all of that. The United States is seeking to buy another way, which is buy off Hamas, right? Try and pay off these guys. Now, this is a strategy that is doomed to failure. It's a very dumb strategy. You cannot buy off Iran. You cannot buy off Hamas. You'll be giving them money and they will use it for the worst possible purposes. And yet you are seeing, again, this attempt to win Arab support by somehow looking as though you're putting clamps on the state of Israel, when in reality, what the United States should be saying to Israel is, you do what you need to do, and we will push everybody else off the ball. But if you appear to be holding Israel back, if you appear to be, trying to tell Israel to back off, then what you're really doing is you're providing fodder for the so-called Arab street. Because if you keep saying to Israel over and over and over, you guys don't violate human rights, then you are playing directly into the narrative, which is that there is some sort of human rights comparison between the state of Israel and its enemies. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one from Ben Shapiro. And one thing I want to say is when the celebrities start talking about international wars, because this is not their problem entirely and is none of their cup of tea. This is not Hollywood, because I bet they know nothing about the history of Israel. So why put your mouth in something as crucial as this? I really enjoyed every minute that this video lasted. If you guys totally enjoyed watching, give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And this is me officially signing out. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.